What's up guys, I'm Chirag and welcome to part 5 of the tutorial series on deploying a Flask application on Amazon ECS using fargate. In the previous tutorial we had pushed the Docker container images to the Amazon Elastic Container Registry, and now in this tutorial we will create the task definition within Amazon ECS. Right, so let's get started. Assuming that you already have logged in into AWS Management Console, and once you are there, navigate to Amazon ECS. Now, once you are within Amazon ECS, click on Task Definition from the left panel. And here we are going to create the new task definition. So click on Create New Task Definition. So here you will get two options, that is EC2 and fargate. So we are going to select fargate and then click on next step. Now here we will configure the task and we will define the containers, right? So the very first thing is task definition name. So I will say Flask application as the task name. Then it says requires compatibilities, that's fargate. Task role is optional, so we can leave it as it is. So here within network mode, so by default it uses bridge network driver, right? So as you can see, default networking mode, which is bridge on Linux and NAT on Windows, right? So by default it's bridge for us, right? So that's going to be stay as it is. Within task execution IAM role, it will create the role with the name ECS task execution role with required permission, that is required to pull the container images as well as to publish the logs within Amazon CloudWatch. So this will be created automatically, right? So now coming to the task size, so here you have to define the memory and the CPU that will be required to run the specific task, right? So in my case I will say 0.5 GB as memory and CPU as 0.25, right? So now fargate will only charge me for this configuration, unlike EC2, right? So that's task size. Now coming to the container definition, so click on add container. So before that we will require to open ECR. Right, because we will be copying this image URI that we will require while defining the container. So click on add container, give the container name. So I will say flask. Now here within image we have to paste the repository URL. So that's going to be this one for Flask application. You can define the tag as :latest, right? Now in case if you are not using Amazon ECR and you are using Docker to reference the images, then you might require username and password to log in. So for that you need to configure it via secrets manager, but in this case we will not require any username or password, so we will keep it unchecked. Now here within memory limits you can set the soft limit and the hard limit for your container, right? So we are going to leave it as it is most of the things. Now within port mapping, we are not going to map the port within Flask application at least, right? And I think the rest of the things we will leave as it is. So here is an health check command you can run. You can give an interval and timeout, all those things. Then we have environment. So here the essential is checked by default. So basically it's the parameter of the container that is marked as true. So basically the failure of this container will stop the task, right? So that's what essential define over here. Then you can define working directory over here and the command to run. And here there is environment variables. So you can set the environment variable. You can pass on values that you need within the container, right? and here there are network settings. You can define host name and DNS servers and whatnot. Then there is a storage and logging, and so most of the things we are going to leave it as it is. And once you have configured the container name and image, say add. Right, so now we have added Flask container. Now we will add another container saying Nginx. Now we will copy the image URI of the Nginx web server, latest. Again, everything remains as it is, but here we need to map the ports, right? So that's going to be port number 80, right? So you can open as many ports you want. So you have to add it over here. So you click on add port mapping. So for example, you want to open port 8000. So click on this, say 8000, then the container will expose those ports, right? Apart from that, here we are going to configure one more thing, that is dependency. So here within startup dependency ordering, we will say container name Flask should start first. So the condition will be start, right? And then this container should start, right? So that's the dependency we are keeping on the another container. So well, that's it, and click on add. So here we have configured two containers within one task definition, that is Flask and Nginx. So here within service integration, everything remains as it is. So we are not going for app mesh or proxy configuration. So then we have log router integration to, if you want to reroute the logs to some another location, so you can go for that. And finally we have volumes. So you can add volumes and attach it to the container. Right now we are not doing it. And finally say create. So as you can see, it has created the execution role for us, right? And if we click on view task definition, so well, that's it for this tutorial. And till the time, if you want me to do a tutorial on any use case or service, then please leave them below and I will try my best to come up with a tutorial as soon as possible. And if you have any queries or comments, then again please leave them below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and see you next time.